Thanks, Al. And welcome everybody to this discussion. It's of course a huge topic, and given the participation and the requests so far, I thought, as I explained to Jason, I would talk a little bit more about how are people using very, very basic AR, VR within their classroom. So what are some of the things that people without any technical background in AR, VR, XR, and I'll explain that acronym soup. What can you do within a classroom? What are the tools that are available and that you can get up and start to use without too much technical background, other than perhaps being familiar with games certainly helps you, or just being able to use online web tools. So I've created a bit of a PowerPoint to take us through this. And I'm going to actually do the risky thing of sharing my entire screen because I have within the PowerPoint quite a number of links that I want to show, and I want you to hear the audio as well. So I'd like to just go through a quick introduction. And 1 second, I'm going to, desktop one, share. So I am sharing my entire screen. So if you see messages popping up on Skype or in my text, please ignore those. So what I'd like to talk about is why is teaching in 3 dimensions something that is of interest, or why is it something that, and can people see my screen so far?
Yes.
Great, okay. Especially now during COVID, how many of you have Zoom fatigue, or the sort of fatigue that comes from seeing everybody in sort of a flat, reduced version of themselves? Certainly a lot of educators are starting to explore teaching using other tools and other things than the standard tools, because 8 hours on Zoom is pretty mind-numbing. So why do we want to explore VR, XR, AR? And they stand for VR's virtual reality, which is sort of a larger category and was the old term for it until AR came around, which is augmented reality. It's been expressed that VR is you moving or you immersing yourself in the computer or in a computer created world. And AR is taking the computer into your world. Many of you have probably played the games where there or various games where there is augmentation of the world around you, and we bring icons and virtual objects into our world. And they're augmented. I won't talk too much about augmented reality today. That may be another topic, and certainly I can cover how to create games, because people are not out in the environment but are stuck sort of at home in most cases. I thought what I would cover more of is where we immerse ourselves, or we go into an alternative reality. So why would you, in a teaching environment, as a teacher, as a professor, want to engage in VR? And there are many reasons. I've just listed a few here, which are sort of the common ones. One is because we're engaging multiple literacies, and that allows students to express themselves in multiple ways, and to perceive and get and engage with the content in multiple ways. It's also far better for exploring non-text subjects, and there's lots of faculty members who usually have a lab, or they go out into a studio, or things of that nature. And it's far easier to represent those three-dimensional environments and those non-textual subjects in a 3D world. It's also better for active and experiential learning rather than simply typing or speaking. Students can actually actively control objects and move about in an environment, position themselves with respect to their classmates or with the objects that they're learning about. And there's a great opportunity for creative expression, because it allows you to play with your identity, play with the representation of yourself, the objects that you bring into the environment, etc. And I'm going to, what I thought I would do, just so you get, before we start playing with it, and I do want to play with it a bit, is to go through some examples of where these virtual worlds are used. So I'm hoping this, I'm not sure what happens with Zoom. You know what?
Well, may I open a different screen? You'll have to switch the screen that you share.
Yeah, well, I shared the whole screen, so I'm going to, we're going to have to live with seeing my entire slides. Oh no, but okay, then I'm going to do this. Okay, tell me whether you follow me into, yes, you do. Okay.
Your browser?
Yeah. So, and here I'm going to, sorry, get rid of all this stuff. But there are quite a few really good examples of how, especially within Indigenous universities and colleges, the augmented reality and virtual reality are being used. And the reason for putting this here is it's a great overview of some of the subjects. Sorry, and I'm just scrolling through an article. That wasn't my intent. Oh, because but anyways, I'm going to give you this, or I'm going to post this PowerPoint with the links, and then you can explore. At the bottom of this, there are a number of articles that show the trade topics and the more applied learning topics that where AR and VR is being used. I included this particular link for you, Yogita, because it's an example of, one second, a Cree syllabus that is being used, where virtual reality learning tools are used to teach Cree, and to and this is in the early grades, and I found actually the video that is referred to here.
Who created that, you know, that Cree language virtual reality?
It's a language program here in this group called Literacy Teaching and Teacher Education. And one second, the video.
Oh, is anybody from Stone Child here today? That's the only place where at TCUs where they teach Cree here in the US. And yeah, I will definitely share that link with them.
Yeah. And I'll send you the link to the actual video, but it's quite interesting because the students go, it's a really creative way of teaching the language. The students are both practicing writing, they are required to pronounce things to control the environment, etc. And there's a number of, and for whatever reason, I had the video queued up, but Zoom is doing weird things.
Hmm.
Um,
That's really interesting.
so the other area that that is a common area where the teaching is happening is in tours and showing a journey through an environment to students. So this is quite frequently used by museums, and as a result, there are many of these environments that have been created that allow or that provide opportunities for teachers to also create them. So the museums are creating the tools, and because the museums have a particular set of individuals that are not necessarily technically very literate, that those tools tend to also be very good from a teacher perspective. So I'm going to not show a very long video, but just the trailer. And this, oh wait, but the trailer isn't 3D. I will show a part of the very long. And this is a project that was done with museums and with a number of classes, where there were a number of classrooms that coordinated together, and each of the classrooms was situated within a different Indigenous community. Let me get rid of the, and the entire thing is created so you can, as a student as well, like I'm now manipulating the screen, and so I can explore more than just simply watching whatever view somebody has assigned to me. I can look and explore the entire scene that has been created. And this is done with a fairly inexpensive camera, and that's one of the things that I wanted to get for the students that are going to be participating in our workshops. And one of the things that we've worked on through our partnership with them is to create ways in which even students who are have mobility impairments can use it using a keyboard, and where there you can call up a text description of something if you can't quite see something. Okay, and so I'm going to stop that. Whoops, you know what? It's going to keep going, isn't it? The further examples, so this here is an accompanying resource that I wanted to show you that goes through the types of steps that these classes have gone through. So one of the things that, and I'll talk a little bit about what is the equipment that's needed by students. Obviously, students don't need any more equipment than they need when they're using Zoom, as I'll show you, but to really immerse individuals within the environment, there are immersive glasses, and there are versions of these that simply take your smartphone or a very, very simple, inexpensive kit like Google Cardboard provides one of these, and they will supply classrooms with it. And then there are also, so this is a version of a pair of VR glasses that is using the Samsung phone, or any phone can be attached to this. this is a Google Cardboard kit, which is sent out specifically within Canada for these tours that are being made. And then there are, as part of the kit, are ways of capturing the three-dimensional images and creating these three-dimensional videos.
Those cardboard kits require some kind of a smartphone?
No, the cardboard kits don't. They come, I mean, the Google Cardboard, which is this inexpensive version of a virtual reality goggle, come with the necessary hardware, but there are other manufacturers that create just the holders and the software that allows you to simply use your smartphone as the viewing
Right.
instrument.
So you can actually, with a cardboard, you know, really low-end kit, still get a pretty good 3D experience?
Yeah. I mean, you can get a 3D experience without any of that as well,
Yeah.
as you sort of saw, and as we'll explore a little bit. I'm gonna just, I wanted to give a sense of some of the teaching resources and the types of virtual reality experiences that are having. This is a colleague of mine, Katrina, who has been doing some work on Manitoulin Island, and this is a video. I think this is the video. Yeah, this is the video of a learning language program that she has. Oh, sorry. Oops, sorry.
Ready for some fun?
What is happening?
And this is younger kids,
Sophie
obviously,
over
than
here.
college.
Say hi to Sophie.
Hi! We're bringing you here today to try something really cool, okay? We're gonna play a game all together with virtual reality. Get ready? This is so cool. Great! There you go. Good job.
This is really awesome.
So today, we're gonna play a game that's really special, and it's gonna help us learn how to speak and write in Cree. And you're gonna trace out the correct syllabics to spell out the word.
I'm speechless.
You're speechless.
Wow.
Good job.
I love it so much. I want to do it again and again and again.
Okay. Sorry. So, I mean, the reason I'm showing this is not to suggest that this level or that this is obviously not a college example, and it's an example within an actual virtual room. But the same types of what's happening now with that group is they are translating the same exercises for what can you do at home with something like the virtual reality kit that I was talking about. So the game controllers and cardboard, they're now using the cardboard headset with basic game controllers I mean, they did an inventory of how many kids have game controllers, and the game controllers are the same things almost that those kids are now holding within the room. There are studies showing that if you go through motions like what was gone through there in terms of tracing out the syllabics, then you're much more likely to learn an alternative writing system, etc. But I'd love to, anybody have questions about this particular one?
It's great. It's great. I have a question, maybe towards the
sorry.
end, ideas for colleges, but yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Well, I'll wait until you finish your whole thing because it might be a bit of an extended conversation.
Okay, and then one of the other things, other examples that I wanted to show is just the type of creativity that goes into some of these student works as well. So giving students the opportunity to hand in assignments, etc. This is an example of a student from our college who used VR. She's an art student, but she's looking at Indigenous art, and she created basically Haudenosaunee creation story, which reimagined. So she was trying to communicate a story and bring it into the present, and it's quite an interesting example of a piece of work.
Once upon a time, in a place far, far away, there is a girl named Otsitsakaim. In your language, that means ancient flower. And you will see how very fitting her name is. Otsitsakaim has a twin brother, the Sumkwa.
Hey, Star, tell us why we don't go to school like other kids.
Okay, so I won't, I mean, you'll have the link to explore this further, but this is using something called machinima, which is basically a set of tools and a strategy for guiding and manipulating three-dimensional versions of characters, etc. So it's an alternative authoring environment to, say, the videos that we've been looking at. Okay, those are some examples. I wanted to also show you that there are teachers' guides, and I'm going to, which try to lay out this whole process as easily as possible. And the other point that I wanted to make is that this is an environment where play is very much appreciated, and so it means that mistakes aren't as problematic because everybody's exploring. It's a new place. It isn't a world that should be scary for someone that's not technically inclined. People are very, very supportive and very friendly as you go into these virtual worlds. This is one example which will be in the set of slides that I provided. Google has a whole set of tools, including how to order for your classroom the Google Cardboard kits. They also have, we were talking about open education resources and resources that are available. Well, there are a lot of open education resources that are available
all right, who wants to see a volcano?
I'm sorry.
3, 2, 1.
Well, this is an example of augmented reality. But they have a whole set of resources where you can both create your own virtual adventures, but then also explore the adventures that other teachers have created and get a kit for your classroom, etc. I'm going to, 1 second. This is another resource kit. This is the Microsoft version, and last time I was talking to you about talking to Microsoft about the possibility of providing licenses for these sorts of things. And these are a set of examples of what teachers and students have done with respect to using the Microsoft tools. This is there was a PhD student who wanted to show what some of the resources would be within a special education classroom. And so this is a very common practice where you create a 3D-dimensional, and then you have, and this is, as I was saying, from the museums use this a lot. So you can explore the museum virtually, and then you can see the displays. And this has been used, this type of tool or this type of authoring environment is also often used by teachers now. I'll just show one or two more examples. This is because you couldn't take the students on a field trip, you can create a field trip.
In the Seattle area is especially interesting given the geological.
So
there are a variety of places to study.
I'm just exploring this like this.
Run by the.
So it tries to create something that is similar to a field trip experience for students. Here's another version of it with less annoying music. Where so you can embed videos within the three-dimensional environment. You can embed like any of the types of.
Kampakeramiikka edustaa ensimmäistä keramiikkaa Suomessa. Nimensä kulttuuri on saanut.
So that's another example. Okay, so and I've probably provided too many links in this, but feel free to explore and try different things out within the environment. You can get sort of lost and delve more deeply into many of these. What I wanted to very quickly do is, before we talk about the possibilities and try something out, is what are the elements that you would be working with and that you can play with and that you can use in creating more immersive learning environments. Amongst them, of course, are the 3D captures. So if you're going to be, if you're not creating your environment, but instead capturing your environment, an existing environment, then there are cameras and special apps that can be added to the cameras that you have already to capture the environments that you're in 3 dimensions. And this includes capturing not just the shell or the outer space, but also the objects. And there are 3D scanning apps for fairly detailed artifacts. So you can go from a very, very simplistic 3D capture to a very, very sophisticated multi-million-dollar 3D capture, which museums use, which of course is not what a teacher would be getting into unless they're in a very special topic where they need to do that. You then, we also deal with the representation or the self. In most of the things that I've been showing you, we have been sort of this absent observer, but quite often, especially in interactive environments where what you're trying to emulate is that learning community group experience, the social aspects of VR or of learning, then quite frequently people create a representation of themselves within that 3-dimensional environment or the avatars. And that's one thing I'd like to take you through as well. you can also create a three-dimensional space, and I'll show you some three-dimensional spaces. And here as well, there are many people who then share the three-dimensional spaces they've created. I don't know if anyone's had tried out Second Life or those sorts of things. So that's generally the quality of the spaces, or people who play the role-playing games. There is a huge library of potential spaces that you can reuse and repurpose that are openly licensed. So you don't need to start from scratch. And quite often what happens is people collectively work on a particular environment. So they start with, okay, this is going to be our classroom or our library or our meeting room. And then people create three-dimensional objects and they add them to that room and contribute them to the room. So you're sort of collectively furnishing something or creating a space, a collective space for each other. So the three-dimensional objects, actually there's even a market for this online, and there's some data that shows that some of the three-dimensional objects, the virtual objects that are not real objects in these virtual markets, are far more costly than the real ones. But you don't need to purchase these things. There are quite a number of shared, openly licensed objects that you can use to populate your 3D space. And then
Quick question.
Yeah.
Is there like the Second Life was big there for a while. I don't know where it is now. Is that or something, whatever replaced a Second Life? Is that is there a dominant 3D space that people are using and buying and selling 3D objects in?
Yeah, there are, and that's another. Right now, the most popular ones, are where the biggest money is being exchanged, are in games, in role-playing games.
Oh, right.
But the teaching space tends to be somewhat separate from that, much friendlier and not sort of cutthroat competitive buying and selling space. The advantage of those other things is that many students sort of spend a bunch of their life in those for-profit gaming environments, role-playing gaming environments. So they've already have the skills for navigating through a three-dimensional space. They already are familiar with creating their own avatars and sort of outfitting their avatars. And they know the actions and the rules within those spaces. That's one of the problems, actually, sometimes, because as a teacher, you want to impose a different set of rules than happens in where they're spending the majority of their time at the moment. One of the things I find is, especially if I have a whole bunch of gamers in my class, is it's sometimes hard to reinforce the protocol within a classroom because they're so used to being in a gaming environment. And since my topic is inclusive design, which is all about probably the opposite of competition and more about collaboration, it's really hard to counter that competitive edge that they feel when they get into a three-dimensional environment, and to say, no, you know what, here we're not trying to kill everybody, and it's not an active shooter game. This is a collaborative, cooperative learning environment where we want to collectively learn about something. So that's the only, I mean, that's the one downside. The upside is that they're used to navigating through a three-dimensional world, and they tend to be much more engaged when it is three-dimensional. Some of the last elements, and of course there's more, but I just wanted to very quickly go through some of the things that are considered and that can be used and that also can be created. So the additional senses and elements within a three-dimensional VR environment are, you can 3D sound, which can be quite powerful because you can localize the sound. The sound can get louder as you approach an object. You can attach it to an object. You can attach it to a part of the environment. I showed some very, very unsophisticated use of sort of background music, which isn't really usually, I mean, you can do much more sophisticated things with things. So as you approach a particular thing, as you make a particular action, a sound can appear. A sound can get louder as whoever's exploring the environment gets closer to something, etc. Haptics is a really interesting part of VR, AR, and that is adding the sense of touch and of kinesthetics. And this is really a critical, important piece quite often for many students. If you think about it, when we say, can I see that? Are we actually saying, can I see it with my eyes? It's not usually, I mean, seeing something, exploring something, actually getting familiar with something that is anticipated by a phrase such as, can I see that? It actually means, can I hold it? Can I touch it? Can I manipulate it? Can I feel it? And so haptics provides that. And haptics is an interesting computer phenomenon because it's both a way of controlling and a way of perceiving. So as opposed to only being a way of providing input, it's both an input and an exploratory action combined into one. And then there are effects that can be produced. So you could have, and of course you can play with effects in the virtual environment. So you can break physics rules, right? I mean, you can fly through the roof, you can make very, very heavy objects actually be very, very light, etc. You can translate one physical property into another, etc. So you can really mess with and play with physical properties. Any questions before I move on to the next? Nope. Okay. Nope. What I want to do is I want to cover the avatars and what is good about avatars, or why are avatars great. There's a whole collective at the moment that's trying to, so there are many avatar making programs. Wait, I'm going to show you just, sorry, I'm trying to grab this. And in here, I've just included one, oops, okay. Oh no, come on. Oh dear, okay, I didn't copy the full thing. Anyways, it's in there in full. You will be able to copy it and bring it into the environment. 1 second, maybe I have a copy. Yeah, here, this is so just a whole bunch of the 10 best websites to create avatars. The avatar makers, there are quite a number. You can just create a portrait, and in fact, you can do that to create a Zoom image and create a whole bunch of different personalities. And I've got some students that participate in my class that have started to do that, where they've created like a palette of different, if they're feeling really grumpy today, they use their grumpy avatar. If they're feeling whatever, anyways, a range of avatars to represent themselves within a Zoom call even, but then also within the three-dimensional environment. But you can create a representation of yourself as a full person. So if you are going to be walking through an environment, or as a simply as a portrait. I wanted to just very quickly, oh, sorry. Take you into a, show you where you would, how you would use these avatars. So there's a VR community that I participate with, and this is, I'm not sure if anybody's in the room at the moment. Okay, oh no, nobody's here. Okay, I was hoping I could introduce you to somebody else who's in this space, and in fact we're in the lobby because the hosts are not here. But this is the type of, so what would happen is, can I add? Okay. I can create an avatar and then I can go into the space that is there, but unfortunately, so so I'm gonna go into, sorry, I have to do some screen management here. Oh, but nobody is here and we can't see very much. So I'm not gonna, I had asked if somebody could come and introduce themselves and then you could see how the, but I guess they didn't make it, or I'm late. But I will include the link to this room as well, because the community there is quite inviting of anyone. And there are meet and greets, and there are also sort of discussions and lessons that happen. We're just out in the waiting room. We're not in the classroom right now. Okay.
So if somebody was else in that room, they would see your avatar?
They would see my avatar, I would see their avatar, and
Okay.
we would talk to each other. Yeah. Okay, moving on and because I just noticed the time. Sorry, I didn't mean to take so much space. So what I'd love to do is to actually have everybody create an avatar and show it to each other. Are people game for that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stick a link into the chat. Chat, where are you? Where's the chat? Okay, and this is a very, very basic, simple, without having to sign in avatar maker. So if everybody clicks on that link and goes there, you'll see we're going to make just a portrait avatar as opposed to a full body avatar. But I'd love to see what you can make. And of course, what happens within this, there needs to be, this is not a very sophisticated avatar maker, because they only have male or female, and they don't have a lot of options in terms of the different parts of the body, but there are much more sophisticated ones. And in fact, a lot of the collectives are adding sort of a variety of cultural artifacts to avatars, so that, and people are contributing to libraries of potential things to add to your avatars. So if you go through it, you choose a shape of face, say, and then you choose a mouth. You choose a nose. You choose the types of ears you think you want. It still looks pretty, and you can choose the color, skin color, then eyes, different eye shapes, etc. Hair, and hair coloring. The types of clothes you have. And then background as well.
Where do I put in all the wrinkles?
What's that?
Where do I put in? I need wrinkles. I'm looking way too young.
I know, yeah, right? I mean, we need to add, so we need to contribute. There are avatar makers that have lovely wrinkles and stuff like that, where you can choose sort of how old you are, etc. I just wanted to show how easy it can be, and then you can, you can.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun. Yeah, it's really fun.
And then what you can do is you can download it, and that's you as a vector or as a PNG, and then you can use that on your Zoom calls if you're feeling like being represented by a cartoon instead. And I mean, there are manga ones. There are I've provided you with a whole set of different ones here. So the Avachara lets you, become, there's even all these uniforms, clothes, or dance outfits that you can use. You could become an anime avatar. You can become a Marvel superhero avatar, etc. You can, the character creator is actually quite interesting, and there are contributions of a whole range of things, although there are a lot of these guns and arrows and things like this because people use them to create avatars for some of the more violent games. But if you're feeling artistic, there are ones where you create these fairly artistic versions. There's even South Park avatar creator, etc., 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 as you can imagine.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm going to stop sharing. I want somebody to show their avatar. Oh my goodness, David, that's great. So David has already exported his avatar to.
Looks just like me. Looks just like me, doesn't it?
It does. Looks just like you.
Again,
Except I think you have more of a beard and mustache. So Al, where's your avatar?
Oh, I haven't downloaded it.
You can share your screen. We could see it on screen.
Okay, wait. Somebody else share theirs while I'm getting back to mine. And I have a quick question. I have to jump off at close to 4 o'clock because I'm part of this conference breakout group that starts at 4. I can be a few minutes late, but not much. You guys can stay on as long as you want, but I have to leave. But I have a quick question for the group. We just had a meeting, AHEC. We just had a meeting today, staff meeting, where we talked about our spring AHEC conference, and the idea that it looks like this spring conference is going to be a virtual conference. If there's going to be one at all, it won't be face to face. Usually, it's you all know about it because we were going to have a meeting last March in Albuquerque. Anyway, the idea of putting it out to students to sort of the challenge, what would you like to do in a virtual conference? What would you like to see happen? And would you be interested in being part of creating some sort of a virtual experience? And when we said virtual, we were thinking more like Zoom and stuff like that. things like that. Just kind of the video, shared video and whatnot. But the idea now of maybe putting it out there for students to come up with a virtual experience that really is, a virtual reality, using hopefully tools that Microsoft would be happy to share with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough time to really go into any deep discussion about it. But if there is interest, if you all think there is something there, maybe we could pursue that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and we could combine the Adobe tools with the Microsoft tools and
Yes.
Get someone to create a virtual environment that reflects what usually happens at a conference. And I understand that there's usually a lot of games. Wouldn't it be neat to recreate those games? Oh, Rhonda, that looks great.
That's exactly right. One of the big games every year is Hand Game, a traditional kind of a betting game, sort of a betting game, but it's where you have to guess where a token is and which hand, and there's singing and there's a lot of generating excitement and focus on guessing where the hand is, and it's teams, and it's just a lot of fun. That may be really hard to recreate in a virtual format, but it'd be really interesting to explore that idea and look at other traditional games that could be virtualized.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, this is Rhonda. My group at Haskell was the one that's in charge of the hand games competition, and they've been actually doing virtual hand games. So, I mean, I'm sure that they would be willing to look at how they could continue that, because they've done virtual hand game competitions.
No way. That would be amazing. What platform were they using for virtual hand games?
They were doing Zooms.
Mm-hmm. So I think a Zoom hand game would be great. Yes, and also maybe an avatar 3D immersive hand game, which would be really cool too, because then you could make it look more of a like a traditional environment. It's at night, campfires, everybody come. One of the comments that one of the staff members made when we talked about it today was that, well, how do you recreate the group experience, where
Mm-hmm.
you have crowds around each team cheering them on and helping out with the singing. If everybody had their own avatar and was all in one, sound system, then you could do that.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a slightly different topic, Al, but you mentioned Microsoft and some things that I've been having some trouble following up on. Maybe you could help with. Microsoft purchased GitHub some years ago, or recently in the last year. There's some fantastic tools that I want to get integrated into our workflow at school. I'm kind of proposal writing right now, trying to think about how to do a better job with this. But the GitHub and cloud computing, I think, is such an important thing for tribal colleges, and I don't know, they don't seem to get back to me very well. I can imagine they're busy. I can imagine COVID. I can imagine a lot of things. But I would love if there was a breakout, if we could invite I think it's called GitHub for Education.
Yeah,
and
yeah, definitely.
You could maybe speak more about it. And some things that I'm curious about is I think they offer like each student like 100 hours of AWS, for spinning up virtual machines. There's a lot of stuff that I think really goes hand in hand with some of the AHEC initiatives. In any case, I think it would be, there would be a lot of value, if not as a main theme, as a breakout, starting to look at the cloud computing space and what Microsoft is offering through open source.
Yeah, definitely. I do know the individuals that are running including the OneNote or education part of it. So I can invite them, and maybe we can cover that.
Please.
Great idea. And that whole cloud computing space we've been exploring with another project, like Jason, you're saying. So that should be a separate meeting, not for mixed media, or indigenous design, but for that audience. But that would be fantastic.
Oh, and look at I love the additional avatars. Emma, I love your pink hair, and they've come together as a school. It's a South Park avatar that you created.
Really good. And I apologize. I do have to jump off. You guys stay. It's being recorded. I'll check it out, and then we'll post it up on the wiki. But this is fantastic. I hope we can follow up on all of the above. And thank you, Yuta, for a great walkthrough of the whole of the virtual space.
Yeah, and that was just a taste of it. I mean, there's a lot more to delve into. And Jason, I think looking at data visualization and bringing data into the VR world would be a great topic to look at, especially in sort of data-heavy subjects, and exploring those with students. Looking at a list of numbers can be pretty mind-numbing, but actually being able to manifest that and explore it more actively is great.
Yeah, I've been really fascinated with Edward Tufte maybe 5 or 6 years ago, starting and moving from that into starting to look at a lot of the tools in ecology in terms of looking at multivariate things like NMS and stuff.
Yeah,
it just strikes me that particularly from a tribal college perspective, understanding patterns, understanding the depth. I think you're right. We get very stuck in a Cartesian way of thinking, and really the beauty comes in as we start to add dimensionality to the world.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Who's sharing their avatar this time?
It's Miranda.
Hi, Miranda. I love it.
So cool.
Does anybody know how to change your thing? I've been on a Mac. I just can't figure out how to.
You have to go into the general preferences, and yeah, it's on a Mac. They've disabled also the sort of virtual background, which is awful.
Oh,
They
really?
took it away when you have a Zoom account.
Yeah, I've been running into that a little bit. I got a Chromebook for our kid, and I've been noticing there's challenges. I guess that's the other side of getting into data visualization is getting really fast GPUs and everything. I think it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you were saying, a lot of the companies are providing compute hours and for many educational institutions. So it would be good to get that additional computing power for some of these things.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think that's such a great idea. And I noticed when you went to that space on the when you were trying to show the not the avatar, but I guess it'd be a virtual reality space and interacting with somebody online. That you went right to GitHub with it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the Mozilla hubs. Mozilla lets, as educators, you can, and anyone can go there and create their own space. Mozilla is supporting educators in using VR as well.
That's great.
Okay, so we've sort of run out of, well, we've run over time. Are there any other, yeah, so Jason, you were saying wishing there was not band. I agree. And there are definitely versions of avatar programs where it isn't a binary choice. And Miranda, I loved your avatar. That was great.
There's a question from Cole.
I'm not able to load avatarmaker.com. Is there another web link to use? Well, I wonder, so it doesn't come up when you click on that link? Does it, what happens when you click on the link?
It just swirl and swirl and swirl. I sometimes have a problem with that, but I did just recently get new Wi-Fi and things have been going well, so I didn't know if there was another.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of more ones here. 1 second, I'm going to put, this is just a review of 10 of them, but there are literally hundreds of these things. So that's, can you click on that one and see?
Yeah.
That then gives you, and one of the ones is the South Park one that David used to create his South Park avatar. And you can go directly to superheroes if you want towards the end there. But you can see how it can spark the imagination of the students, and they can play different roles, and it makes it socially a much more interesting experience than passively sort of sitting on a Zoom call.
Yeah, great. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay, let me do. Oh, I see where you can go. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, this one came up right away, and that was well, it's now loading. Yeah, it was the CHAR, let's see, CHARAT. So I'll mess around with this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, are there other questions? No, if not, we'll be recording this. And if you have suggestions for, I mean, from this point, there are so many other things to explore here. And I think we have a list of topics. So if you have a preference, if there is what we should explore next, then please tell us, or Moema, if you tell Moema, who is sort of coordinating this entire workshop series, that would be great.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out, not only for questions, but also if you want to have a session where we can go over videos or anything, please feel free to reach out.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody, and see you again next week. Al will be sending out a message with what is next. And maybe Jason, if you want to participate in a workshop, we could do data visualization, data manifestation next.
Yeah.
Great.
I'd love to talk with you offline, maybe after this month, and I'd love some ideas for how to make it a little bit more bite-sized. But I would appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
You guys.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Thank you.
Yuta?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, cool. Should we just, I can send a link too, or I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can send another link, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bye.
Bye.